I would like to invite Swami Sarvasthanananda Ji Maharaj to light the inaugural flag. If you want to sort of come to the front and be with him, that would be really fantastic. Please come. Thank you so much.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Adrenal. Okay. What's your name?
So thank you very much, the young guests and the young participants for the felicitation of Maharaj. Now we come to the next part, which is the spiritual highlight of today's program. The talk by Swami Sarvasthanananda Ji Maharaj on Swami Vivekananda, following the footsteps of Lord Rama. Before we go into that, let me quickly tell you a little bit about Swami Sarvasthananda Ji Maharaj, who is minister in charge, Ramakrishna Vedanta Centre, Bourne End. He is also the editor of Bi-monthly Vedanta, published from there. He was blessed by spiritual initiation by Srimad Swami Vivekananda Ji Maharaj in 1983 and joined the Ramakrishna order at its headquarters at Bourne End in February 1987. Since June 1987, he served the Ramakrishna Ashrama in India in various capacities for more than 30 years. He served in the center's publication department for nearly 25 years and was the editor of the Gujarat Monthly Sr Ramakrishna for nearly 17 years. He offered his services in several major relief activities and rehabilitation projects since 1987 in Gujarat. He also served as the head of the Ramakrishna Center for more than 6 years. He has traveled extensively in the UK and other parts of Europe and America, preaching the universal message of Ramakrishna Vedanta Vedanta, India's cultural and spiritual heritage and interfaith. Swami Sarvasthanananda represented the Ramakrishna Mission in an UNESCO conference on youth and social impact held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in 1817, and also represented the organization again in university events held in Tunisia and Paris in September and December 2018. Since June 2017, he has been appointed as one of the 3 official lasting representatives of the Ramakrishna Mission to the UNESCO events, wherever they are held from time to time in different countries of the world. He has also participated in interfaith peace conferences in Rome, in the Vatican, in which the Pope presided, and the presidents of Italy and France participated, and also in similar events in other parts of Europe. So with that, I'd like to invite Swami Sarvasthanananda Ji Maharaj to begin his talk. Thank you.
Om Ram Rameti Rame Rame Varanane Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. Dear devotees who have assembled here on this very auspicious occasion, we will be celebrating Rama Navami soon on 26th of this month, and it's befitting that we have all gathered here to discuss about Sri Rama, Sita, Hanuman in the light of the thoughts and ideas of Swami Vivekananda, who said Sri Rama, Sita and especially Hanuman, they represent the highest ideals that our Indians can aspire for. In fact, he said they form a wonderful source of inspiration for the entire world, not only just India. If you see the ideal of Rama, as we see most of the incarnations, the avatars, the concept of avatara came much later. When Valmiki, the Adi Kavi, he is known as the Adi Kavi because he was the first Rishi who wrote in poetry form, in Kavita form. Before that, most of our texts, including the Vedas, they were written which resembled prose. Of course, the Vedic literature, if you see, there's a lot of poetry in that. But the first systematic writing of wonderful ideas which are known as itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata are known as itihasas. They are not just a description of the wonderful exploits of great avatars, great ideals who represent the very soul of India. As Swami Vivekananda said very often, that Rama, the Sita ideal, the Rama ideal, and especially for the younger generation, the Hanuman ideal, who was a servant of Sri Rama, who knew nothing in this world except devoted service to his master. So he said, these ideals form the very soul of India. It's not just itihasa. Itihasa means normally we translate it as history. History of certain kings, history of exploits of certain kings, some battles, some wars fought. That is not how Indian culture interprets history. History is not just their exploits. They live for an ideal. They have a message to convey to the present day world. not only contemporary world, the age in which they lived, of course, their message was relevant in that age, but more so, as days pass, their message does not lose their relevance. They're as important as they were in Dwapar Yuga, in all the earlier yugas when they lived these highest ideals, the highest ideals of the Vedas or Vedanta Upanishads were lived by them, and a literature grew around them. We called it mythology because there are a lot of myths, and the modern world just dismisses them as stories which our children watch on television and other social media or read books, just as they would read the myths or maybe some stories created by man, like the comics of the Western world, which serve, which inspire not only it has some entertainment value, that's all. They don't convey any deep ideas. For example, we have a lot of myths in Greek mythology, lot of stories, Iliad and Odyssey, and they have inspired the Western world, the so-called Western world. And they conveyed certain ideas, which, because of which the Western civilization has grown the way it has over so many centuries. Then we had Semitic religions, mainly in the Middle East, but they spread all over the world. Judaism, that is the Jewish religion, then Zoroastrianism, the Parsi religion, which was once upon a time a very powerful religion. And then there were other offshoots, Christianity and Islam, in all their different aspects. They form a group of ideas, and there are myths in that. There are biblical myths, especially the Old Testament. If you see, there are a lot of myths. They are similar to our myths, but there is a huge difference. The Hindu myths and mythology, which you see, so many Puranas, so many Itihasas. The two main are Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana, of course, precedes Mahabharata. And Ramayana is a very excellent Itihasa, excellent piece of work. First time in the history of Indian literature, Adi Kavi, that is Valmiki, who is known as the Adi Kavi, the first poet, he wrote Ramayana portraying many characters. The main character is, of course, Rama, but then Sita is no less important. That is why some versions of Ramayana, some of the scholars believe that why Ramayana, why not Sitayana? Because she is also a very, very important character. In fact, Swami Vivekananda says, this is the highest possible ideal before our Indian women. If the idea of Sita is lost, we will lose everything. Of course, that doesn't mean the ideal of Rama is less important, but the ideal of Sita has no parallel anywhere in the world. So these are Swami Vivekananda's ideas. He saw in his own master, Sri Ramakrishna, who shed wonderful insight on the real purpose of Ramavatara or Rama's wonderful life and message. Also Sita's life and message. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna practiced sadhana. He worshipped Rama, he worshipped Krishna, he worshipped Devi, Ma Kali, and all the myths that surrounded these great avatars or avatara purushas. They are basically different from the Western mythology, which has resulted in the modern scientific revolution, which were inspired by these ideals. I'll briefly tell you what is the difference between Ramayana, Mahabharata Because when we teach children, you have to remember, they are exposed to these stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata just as they would approach the Greek stories, Harry Potter and many other modern myths, modern stories. So many wonderful literature is there, but they hardly convey any spiritual ideal. Whereas, if you see the stories of Ramayana, Hanuman, he is not just a monkey god, as our children are often told by the Western scholars. They just consider this as some stories to inspire children or have some entertainment value, and we are happy if we have a superficial understanding of these great myths without going deep into the real purport or the real purpose of these great personalities. They represent an ideal. Stories can be many. Many stories have been built around them. For example, if you see, the impact of Ramayana is so much that we have 5 or 6 Ramayanas within India. We have Tulsi Ramayana. Of course, the inspiration is Valmiki's Ramayana. That is the main Ramayana. But we have other Ramayanas, slightly different versions. Not much difference, but there is a significant difference in the way the different characters like Rama, Sita, Hanuman, Bharata, Shatrughna, and all the different characters that appear in Valmiki's Ramayana have been picturized in different ways, depending on the need of the age. Tulsi Ramayana is a very devotional approach. He glorifies Hanuman. Of course, you see Valmiki also, the Sundara Kanda of Valmiki Ramayana was the inspiration. But if you see Tulsidas, he created this wonderful Hanuman Chalisa, which every child, every youth, especially in North India, they all memorize it. They're inspired. Generations after generations have been inspired. So there are different versions, not only in India. There is a Bengali Ramayana, which has its own importance, own characteristic, Kritivasa. Then we have Kamba Ramayana of Tamil Nadu. Then there are other Ramayanas, slightly modified versions, but the theme remains the same. So we have to know what is that theme. What did Rama stand for? Rama as a personality, not just as a avatara. Of course, that has devotional value. We worship avatars. It's a uniquely Indian concept, unlike the Western concept of prophets. They also have the idea of prophet, but we have to understand the basic difference. It's a very basic difference. You cannot look at Ramayana or study Ramayana through Western eyes. The problem with our children is when they go to school, these characters, though they are wonderful characters, the questions that they have to face causes a lot of problems. They said, how can you have a monkey god? How can you have so many gods and goddesses? And they are not able to answer because they do not understand the importance, or we have not explained to them the importance of the idea behind these myths. The characters, wonderful characters of Ramayana, Mahabharata and Puranas, there are so many Puranas. They are not just stories for entertainment, though children very often are exposed to them as mere stories, to be heard, to be watched if there is a picturization or serial. The children enjoy it, no doubt. But what is the significance of the incarnation? Now let us start with Greek mythology. The basic idea behind all the Greek myths and stories is the idea of a hero. In this world, a hero is respected. Hero in the sense, a person who can prevail against circumstances. So that hero can be a military ruler, he can be a businessman, and the goal is through competition, excel everyone and dominate. Domination is the idea behind the myths, all the stories, if you see Greek mythology, the children are built up that way. That is why we have in the Western civilization ideas that I should dominate the world. I should be a hero. I should manifest all the power, all the wealth through my own strength. So this idea behind every myth is not the idea behind our ideals. No doubt Rama was a hero, but we don't emphasize that aspect. He did not come to just fight a war. Krishna never fought a war. In fact, he never took up arms. If you see the Mahabharata, he was the most passive person there. Though he was mentally very active, he didn't participate in any war. The kings were fighting amongst themselves, cousins were fighting amongst themselves. No doubt Rama killed Ravana, but that is not the main goal he came for. So the idea of Rama as a hero who killed demons, may be a Western idea. But unfortunately, our children think Rama was born to kill Ravana. And just like any other myth in the Greek literature, this myth has to be interpreted that way. That would be a very wrong way of understanding Ramayana. Rama is much more than a king. He is often depicted as a hermit king. A hermit who became a king not by choice. He developed the concept of Ram Rajya, how to rule wisely, not asserting his power. Like the Western kings, the Roman kings, which inspired a lot of Western people, lot of industrialists to rule over the world by their strength, by their hard work, by their power, so that they can dominate. That idea was never there in our scriptures. Then the second idea, which is typical of the Semitic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, there the idea, if you see all the biblical myths, many of you must have read the Old Testament. You see the stories there. There, the idea is, there were small tribes fighting with each other. So a prophet comes and he says, don't fight with each other. Especially in the Arab region, there was so much scarcity of resources. So right from beginning, if you see the biblical myths, some leader, some prophet comes, son of God in the case of Christianity, Moses in the case of Judaism, and of course the prophet of Islam. So all these people come to gather what is known as the tribal mentality. There were tribes. But if you want to prevent war, you all come together under one son of God, under one prophet. Hinduism doesn't have that idea. You take Krishna, you take Rama, you take Ma Kali, you take Durga, and there are so many gods and goddesses. Our children are confused. Whom should we worship? We do not stick to one particular religion or one particular sect, one particular scripture. Some may be interested in Bhagavad Gita, some may be interested in Ramayana. And in fact, this Ramayana, I'm not talking of the 5 or 6 versions of Ramayana in vernacular languages, in Bengali, in Tulsi Ramayana, then South Indian Ramayana. There are many Ramayanas across in other foreign countries, across the border. We have Thai Ramayana, Indonesian version of Ramayana, and it's a national culture there. They have their own version. It may not tally with our Ramayana, but the basic characters, the basic ideal has inspired even Thailand, Malaysia, and all the countries there. If you see, their culture has absorbed so many things from the Valmiki Ramayana. And that has helped them to set up certain ideals. So as I said, the biblical myths, they believe in one scripture one mythology which is based on the Old Testament, and they accept different versions, different interpretations, and different prophets came and said that this is the religion. All of you who belong to this particular tribe follow a particular god, follow a particular scripture, whoever is within your fold. So there is no domination by a particular hero or king like Greek mythology. Here, it is some kind of democracy or some kind of rule by the people. The group, the tribe that comes in the name of different prophets, they are a very powerful body. That is why you find Islam, Christianity, and all the religions spreading very fast, because they all unite in the name of one prophet. And very often Hindus are criticized because we have so many prophets. They say we are divided because we cannot unite. The followers of Vishnu, when Sri Ramakrishna was born, the followers of Vishnu could not see the face of followers of Shiva. They said, we are Shaivites, you are Vaishnavas. And there was quarrel between them. There are so many interpretations of different of Vedic religion, depending on the different Puranas, giving rise to sectarian approach to religion. But if you come to Ramayana, Rama is considered to be one of the avatars. You will see that he stood for certain principles, just as Krishna stood for certain principles. We will not discuss Krishna now because we are discussing Rama as interpreted by Swami Vivekananda. He said they represent an ideal. So what did Rama represent? Was he just a king who ruled Ayodhya? Of course, Ram Rajya was one of his goals in life. How Ram Rajya should be established. But if you see, right from the birth of Sri Ramachandra, he goes to school, his education is under the famous Rishi Vishwamitra, who asks Dasharatha for the young boys to be sent to their hermitage, partly to give them education, partly to kill the demons. So they are taught military warfare, everything a Kshatriya should know. So their dharma was taught to them. And at the same time, they were taught scriptures, because Vishwamitra was a great rishi. He was the one, his whole clan, the Rishi clan, were responsible for the Gayatri Mantra. The Rigvedic Gayatri Mantra is the creation of Vishwamitra. So he goes, Rama and Lakshmana go and help him fight the demons. For that, they are taught the art of military warfare. A Kshatriya should know this. So the concept of Swadharma, there are two words in Indian scriptures. If you want to understand Ramayana, you have to understand two things. One is the idea of Swadharma. By your nature, if you are a Kshatriya, your Swadharma is to fight. That is what Krishna told Arjuna. You should not give up your Swadharma. You are a Kshatriya. You have to fight for Dharma. Wherever adharma comes, you have to destroy it. Where adharma rises. Yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavat bharata abhyuthana adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam. I come to rescue Dharma. So Ramchandra came to establish Dharma. He had his own Swadharma, and he goes to the school. He goes to learn from the rishis. He's sent by Dasharatha. And when he comes back, a strange thing has happened. He was a Kshatriya, but he became so much interested in scriptures, Shastras, which told him the goal of life is moksha. And he became very meditative. The story in Valmiki Ramayana shows that Rama, when he came back from after his education, he was not showing any interest in ruling the kingdom. He was very quiet, very meditative, a quality which we do not teach our children, unfortunately. But Rama was taught. So when he came back, he became a very spiritual person. He came back, of course, he was an avatar, but the human aspect of Rama, if we discuss, he became very contemplative, very obedient. You see the obedience he demonstrated before his father, his mother. So he developed these qualities. And Dasharatha was worried. If he behaves in this way, how can he perform the Kshatriya Dharma? He is behaving as if he is a monk. He is completely contemplative, which is very important. That gives Rama the wonderful personality. He is known as Maryada Purushottam. How? Not because he was a good warrior. There were far superior warriors. Wali was a superior warrior. Sugriva, Vali, and so many people. Ravana himself was a great warrior, great scholar, maybe a better scholar than all the people who lived in that age. Rama also acquired all the knowledge, the worldly knowledge, how to fight. Vishwamitra taught him. But when he came, Dasharatha was worried. Now this Rama, if he has to rule the kingdom, if he goes and sits in his room and meditates and discusses the scriptures, that's not going to help him perform his Swadharma, which is to be a king. But Rama was born for something higher. He was not just a king like any other kings. In fact, he did not rule. For 14 years, he went to the forest. And you saw the drama today. Rama was very happy. He said, I am relieved of a big tension. I will go into the forest, lead a very natural life, meditate. That is what I like. That is what I was taught by the scriptures. To have developed internal harmony through meditation. So it's a golden opportunity. I will go to the forest for 14 years is nothing. I will go and develop myself spiritually. So Dasharatha was worried. So he told Vasishtha. Vasishtha Muni was the royal court guru. He was the guru of the whole empire of the court of Dasharatha. So he was the official guru. So Vasishtha comes and Dasharatha tells Vasishtha Muni, please see, Rama is not giving enough attention to the administration and other things. He is very withdrawn, he is meditative. So Vasishtha goes and tells Rama. There is a beautiful Ramayana which is known as Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana. That's a wonderful book. If you want to know who Rama was, it's not enough to just read Valmiki Ramayana. You have to read Tulsi Ramayana also. That shows how much devotion was there. Bharata, Lakshmana, all of them were great devotees. Hanuman. For that, you have to read Tulsi Ramayana. Each Ramayana has a beautiful message to give, other than Valmiki's Ramayana. But here, if you see, after he goes, Vasishtha tells him, he said, why are you like this? Why are you so serious, so meditative? He says, I don't have any interest in the world. That is what scriptures say. This world, I don't have any ambition. I don't have any desire for power. So why run after all these things? So I want to leave the world. You see, Ramachandra, who was to become the king, of course he doesn't become. Before coronation, you saw how he was asked to go to the forest. And we think it was a punishment, but Rama was very happy. He was happy to allow Bharata to rule. So Rama, Vasishtha, the Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana, that shows, in that he says, Rama, where will you go? Even if you renounce the world, your mind will go with you. The main message of Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana, which is also depicting the character of Rama so well, it says it is the control of your mind that is important. Whether you live as a householder or a monk, can you go beyond the world? You may go to a forest, you may go to a hermitage, but you will carry the same mind with you. So argue with me. Vasishtha tells in the whole Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana, which is a very big Ramayana, there he says, you try to argue with me, I'll convince you that it doesn't matter what Swadharma you practice. What is your Swadharma and what you practice? Whether you live in the palace or whether you live in the forest. The main thing is you have to control your mind. And how to do it? That is Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana. There is another Ramayana which is known as Adhyatma Ramayana, which Sri Ramakrishna liked very much. In fact, he used to inspire Vivekananda. He said, you read this Adhyatma Ramayana. That will tell you, give you wonderful insight. Ramayana is not a story, just a story. Rama goes to the forest, then Sita is taken away by Ravana, he goes to Lanka, Hanuman helps him, Sugriva helps him, and then they come back, and then there is Ram Rajya again, and then Sita is banished to the forest. These are stories, no doubt. But what is the central character of Rama? Swami Vivekananda says he was the upholder of Dharma. And the whole of Valmiki's Ramayana is about tapasya. Rama, there are two things, Swadharma and the Raj Dharma or the Dharma for society. Dharma means dharayati iti dharma, that which holds society. If you want to support society, you have to have some constitution, some principles, which were known as dharma. So when your conflict between Swadharma and the dharma of the country and the kingdom that you are ruling comes, you have to give preference to Raj Dharma, not your own dharma. You may have to suffer. That is exactly what Rama did. He went into the forest 14 years. He had so much difficulty. Sita was taken away by Ravana. He had to plan how to go to Lanka, and whole of 14 years, if you see, in exile. He went there for peace, but there was no peace. He was always under some kind of problem. But in the interest of Dharma, not only of his kingdom, which is part of the Dharma, to rule your kingdom, but the whole world. So he set up an ideal of what Dharma is. That is why in India we don't use the word religion. For us, religion is Dharma. We call religion as Dharma, that which supports society. Swadharma is important, but Swadharma and Dharma, when there is a conflict, you have to sometimes sacrifice for the sake of Dharma. That is the entire personality of Rama. Not only Rama, Sita also. You see, why was Sita banished? She goes to Valmiki's ashrama, Lava-Kusha are born there. Why does she go? Because Rama felt that people are still not happy. Though Sita was an embodiment of purity, that is why Swami Vivekananda says, if any race, any culture, he said, if it has produced a character like that, a woman like that of Sita, then it has to be a wonderful civilization. Even if it is not historically true, he says, any poet who has imagined a character like Sita with so much of purity, so much of strength, so much of power in the sense, not in a negative sense, that inner strength. In fact, there is a very interesting incident in Valmiki's Ramayana. We just saw the play now, and when Rama is about to go to the Vana, of course he did not want Sita to come, as you saw. He said, it is very hard, you stay. Lakshmana also is discouraged. He said, it's my promise given to, my father has promised that I have to obey that, I have to follow my dharma. So his dharma is a son of Dasharatha. So the dharma of the son is to follow what the father instructs. So he says, I am following, you are not bound by this. So he tells Sita, you don't come. He tells Lakshmana also, why are you coming? I am happy, I'll be happy to go alone. It is I who have been asked to go. That was the boon Kaikeyi asked. But if you see this wonderful thing which happened in between, this incident is not mentioned. People just blame that women's empowerment was not there in that day, that those ages, the woman had to depend on the husband, or maybe women were not given importance. But Valmiki was very particular about this. When the alternative, Ram said, I will go to the forest. I have to honor the word my father has given to Kaikeyi, so I will go. So then there was a discussion. Of course, he had promised that Bharata will rule, but there was a group of women and men, ministers, very wise ministers. You know what proposal they gave? They said, who is the next person who is fit? If Rama has decided he has to go, they chose surprisingly Sita. Of course, she did not agree. She went with Rama, but they said, if at all there is the next best person, she was a woman, mind you, and you talk, we all, especially the Western educated women and men, criticize that Rama was not just, he was not very kind to Sita. There was so much of male domination. So many stupid things they speak. But if you see Ramayana itself, Valmiki says Sita was the fittest person because she was expert in administration, she was expert in military warfare. Janaka had trained her. So she was an empowered woman. She was not just a helpless woman, as very often we are told that it had drama and they had to go and rescue her. She was great in her own strength. That is why some scholars say, why says Ramayana? Why not Sitayana? Sita's character is equally powerful. She was she was an empowered woman, very powerful woman. And that strength, Swami Vivekananda says, the wonderful strength, inner strength. If you see the Ashok Vana, how much of pressure was given by the Rakshasis, who were sent by Ravana to frighten her. First he tried to lure her, but he sent people, Rakshasis, to frighten her so that out of fear she may agree. But you see her strength, sitting alone in Ashoka Vana. She was so determined. And they say she was so pure that Ravana knew that he could not approach 10 feet near her. If he would have been burned to ashes, if he had approached, not that he could not force, but they say the tremendous purity. That is, Vivekananda says, even if we can dream about a woman having this kind of strength, the Sita ideal, he says, has made Ramayana immortal. Of course, the Rama ideal is there. And that is what Sri Ramakrishna came to revive. He said, all along Indian history, unfortunately, because of foreign influence, women were not given the rightful place in society. Though we had characters like Sita, Savitri, Damayanti, they are great women. But he says, in this, when Sri Ramakrishna came, he came and worshipped Ma Kali to revive mother worship, to revive Shakti. Vivekananda says, the message that we get from Sita and all these great women of India, who are the mainstay of Indian character, was how much respect, how much empowerment was given to women in the Vedic age. But later on, it became a male-dominated society because a lot of ideas came from other countries, other religions. We were occupied by, we were conquered by the Mughals, and so many people came, and then unfortunately the women were neglected. And Vivekananda says, if we want to become great again, our women have to rally around Sita. They have to be like Sita. They have to be pure like Sita, not follow the Western ideal. In fact, this idea was brought out by Sister Nivedita. If you read her description, she was not an Indian, but she understood India better because of her master. She interpreted Indian cradle tales of Hinduism. She has written a beautiful book. We unfortunately don't read such books. If you want to know, it was Sister Nivedita, a foreign woman, a disciple of Vivekananda, who wrote some of the best books on Sita, Rama, and all the wonderful Harishchandra and all the great historical characters. She understood the deep meaning. She understood the power and the wonderful purity of Sita, which Swami Vivekananda told her. And she wrote a wonderful description. If you see the wonderful book she wrote on Ma Kali, people worship Ma Kali, we worship Durga, so much of fanfare and pujas and pandals and dance, drama, everything goes on. But Nivedita explained for the first time, she gave a wonderful talk on Mother Kali in Kolkata, explaining why Kali is important. It's not just puja and rituals. What does Kali symbolize? What does Durga symbolize? And what did Sri Ramakrishna come for? As Vivekananda explained, he came to revive Shakti, which was neglected and because of which we had to suffer for 1,000 years slavery. First Mughals, then the British. He says, what is the reason? The only reason is we did not follow the ideal of Sita, the ideal of Shakti, the ideal of mother worship. If we had done that, we would not have been slaves to anybody who decided to come and occupy us. He said, we made a national mistake. India made a big mistake by not discouraging or maybe not encouraging the worship of the mother power, Shakti. Shakti Puja. That is why he said, Sri Ma Sharada Devi has come. If you see the respect Vivekananda gave, in fact, he would not have gone to America if mother had not given him permission. When Sri Ramakrishna told him, you go to the Chicago Parliament he was pointing towards America, he wrote to the Holy Mother Sharda Devi, whom he revered as much as he would revere Sita. He said, if mother says and blesses me, if her Shakti is behind me, then I will go cross the ocean. I don't know what Sri Ramakrishna wants me to do in the West. He could conquer the West, he says, only because he received a letter from Holy Mother saying, you go, you will be successful. So much reverence. So he says, Sri Ramakrishna was born for this very purpose, to give back the lost dignity to women of India and place them on a pedestal where India used to place Sita, Savitri, Damayanti, Ma Sharda Devi, Jhansi, Rani of Jhansi. So all the great women of India, they have to rally according to Swami Vivekananda. That is the lesson we get from the Ramayana. And Valmiki was very particular. If you see Sita's decision-making capacity, when she came back from the forest where she was asked to go, of course we will not go into the discussion why she was sent and all those things, but see the personality of Sita. She was, as all of you know, the daughter of Mother Earth. So when she was asked to pass through the fire ritual again, pass through the fire to prove that she was pure, she said, enough is enough. I am not going to prove. And she decides to leave this world and enter into the Mother Earth, who was, according to the story, the myth which Valmiki has created, Janaka actually adopted. She was the daughter of Mother Earth. Sita was the daughter of Mother Earth. So while he was during farming, she found the child and he brought her up and trained her to become a very powerful woman. The embodiment of purity, the embodiment of strength, the embodiment of determination, the embodiment of the capacity to make her own decisions, not what others told her to do. So she says, no, I am not going to pass through this fire ordeal again. I've done it once because you told me to. Now I will go back from where I came. And then Valmiki says, after that, Rama himself went into the Saryu river and told the Ayodhya Vasis that if you take a dip into this holy river, because he himself entered the rivers, he said, my play is over. The divine drama of Ramayana is over. Sita has gone back. And in fact, when the Ashwamedha Yajna was to be performed, they said, the rishis and the priests said, you cannot perform without a wife. You have banished Sita to the forest. She is living in a hermit. So you and people in those days, Dasharatha himself had 3 wives. So they said, why don't you marry again? This is in Valmiki Ramayana. He said, you can easily marry because you have to perform. Every king, even the Pandavas performed the Ashwamedha Yajna. That shows that the king has to perform that. That was the dharma of the kings, to perform that. But you cannot do it without a queen or the wife. So Rama said, nothing doing. The ministers, they were all saying, why don't you marry someone? He said, no, I have been married to Sita and she is my eternal companion. I'm not going to marry. That's why they had a golden Sita made. The priest said, okay, you can do it. But he said, I'll make a replica of Sita. This was when she was alive. She was still in the Valmiki's ashrama, where Lava and Kusha, the sons of Rama, were taught the Ramayana and they recited the whole story. In fact, the Adi Kavi Valmiki must have got inspiration. They say Narada came and told the entire story of Rama to him and he composed it in beautiful poetry. So these epics, these wonderful ideas, the personality of Rama, as Vivekananda, as Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna himself praised. He said he had a vision of Sita. He had a vision how a woman, in spite of so much suffering in life, she never lost her mental balance. Whether she was in the forest, whether she was in Ravana's Ashok Vatika surrounded by demonesses, Rakshasis, or whether she was asked by Rama himself to go to the forest. Whatever be the condition, she was so balanced, so strong, so pure. So these are the ideals. And even Rama, for example, he always considered the dharma of the country or dharma of the entire world to be more important than his own selfish interest. If I lose the kingdom, it doesn't matter. But people should not suffer. So that is why the very idea of Ram Rajya came. In fact, the idea of Ram is so embedded in our Indian culture. In North India, and most of the people, they say, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai. When you meet somebody, Ram is used. Even when you die, most of the Indians, they'll say, Ram Naam Satya Hai. So you find Ram is, you cannot live without this great personality who has not only influenced India, but as I said, Thailand, Indonesia, and so many countries all over the world. In fact, in China also there is a version of Ramayana, especially the character of Hanuman. So Hanuman, of course, I'll conclude with this. Hanuman, though he is shown, and our children like to call him the Monkey King, he is far different from what characterizes a monkey. He is known as Manojavam Maruta Tulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayuta Mukhyam. Vanara is a race actually, it is not just a monkey with a tail. But he was one of the wisest generals of Sri Rama. He knew what to do and when. This wonderful Buddhimatam Varishtam, Buddhi. The idea of Gayatri Mantra is Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat, Om Bhurvuvasvaha Tatsavitur, which Valmiki taught the Gayatri Mantra in the Rig Veda. They say, I mean, the verses say, or the Gayatri Mantra says, that please enlighten my intellect. We are praying to Gayatri, the sun who gives light, who removes our ignorance. We pray that give us the buddhi to make the right choices in life. And that was embodied by Hanuman. He was the one, according to Valmiki, whatever Rama said, he not only obeyed, but he used his wisdom, whether it is going to Lanka or any other task which Rama gave to Hanuman. That was like, he was a perfect example of Dasya Bhakti. I am Rama's servant, and whatever he orders me, even if I have to give up my life, I will follow. So Swami Vivekananda used to say, every village, every town should have a Ram Mandir and Hanuman Mandir. He said, I wish every village of India are inspired by this wonderful obedience of Hanuman, who had no other desire other than Rama. In fact, when Sita gives jewels to him, he said, I don't need this. There is no Rama in this. If it does not help me to serve my master, it is of no use. So, you see the character of Hanuman, which Swami Vivekananda praised, that following the footsteps of his master Rama, whatever he said, to go to Lanka, to jump over the sea. In fact, Swami Vivekananda jokingly said, he said in the previous incarnation, Hanuman had to jump and face so many difficulties on the way. We know that story. But he says, in this yuga, I was spared the task of jumping. I went in their own ships, the ships that the Western world had built. So I could cross the ocean in a ship rather than jump. So he was joking, of course, but that shows the determination, the obedience, the spirit of obedience. And he said every youth, every young person should be inspired by this Hanuman ideal. Hanuman, who was ready to obey. He in fact said, why could the British rule us? Why could English people, handful of English people rule us? Because of this quality of Hanuman which they had, obedience. You just obey. Don't. He said, India, unfortunately, he told this in the Calcutta address. He said, even in India, if there are 3 people, there will be 4 parties. We cannot work together. So much of jealousy. He said, see Hanuman, absolutely obedient. First obedience, first obey the master and do what he said. Don't use your own brain. That is how the devotion of Hanuman to Rama, Swami Vivekananda glorified. He said, that is the spirit we want today. Everybody wants to do his own. He says, unfortunately, we were ruled by the British. They just ruled us by one quality they had, they obey. Once they choose the leader, whoever he is, they will obey him to death. They'll just obey the order. They will not have their personal egos. Why should I listen to this person, that person? So he said, this is the lesson we have to learn from Hanuman. He was asked to go without even thinking whether he has the capacity to cross the ocean. He has so much faith in Rama. He has asked me to go, I will go. I will conquer. I'll go to Lanka and find out where Sita is. So that is the ideal which Swami Vivekananda liked. He said our youth should be like that. Have faith in yourself. Have faith as Hanuman had in himself. Not because of ego, but because he believed that Rama was there to give him strength. It is the strength of Rama that will make him carry out his command. He says that kind of dasya bhakti and that kind of strength and moreover that kind of pure life. We all know Hanuman was a brahmachari. He practiced brahmacharya. In fact, if you see Valmiki's Ramayana is giving lot of importance to this quality and in a way conveying to our youths that when you are in your when you are learning, when you are in the process of acquiring certain skills and trying to build up a career for the betterment of the world or betterment of your society, you have to be focused like and concentrated on the objective like Hanuman did. He said such a wonderful mind, buddhimatam varishtam. His buddhi was so far superior than all the other people. Why? Because of his concentration and because of his practice of brahmacharya. So that is why he is respected. And he said every village should have his temple. And don't think it is just by reciting Hanuman Chalisa. It is so popular, but it gives a wonderful strength. We cannot argue. I have seen people who are so devoted to Hanuman Chalisa, especially in North India. They may be poor, but just the recital, they think it gives them tremendous strength and it helps them to achieve what Hanuman achieved for Rama. Of course, their goal may be different. They may not be spiritual people, but see the faith, what impact these characters has created. Not only Valmiki Ramayana, but Tulsi Ramayana. Every child, if you see, even today, in spite of all the media, social media and other things, I was shocked even today. Even the boy on the street, he may not have a proper clothes, but you ask him, he will recite Hanuman Chalisa. Why? Because it gives strength. It gives tremendous strength. And they believe the strength which Hanuman had because of his devotion to the master, maybe a little portion of that will come to me if I chant it. So I am very helpful, I am very grateful to Anirban and all the members. It's a new society, Vedanta Centre, which is here. I've heard that it's just 1 year old, but Vedanta teaches us, especially as interpreted by Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, to unite. The great ideas of the Puranas, the Itihasas, the Upanishads should help us to be united. And Ramayana is a great lesson. How the unity of Vanaras, Sugriva and different, the army of Rama, if you see, there were different people belonging to different ethnicities. But all of them were obedient, like Hanuman was. Hanuman was the leader, there was Sugriva. They were all determined that there may be differences. We may belong to different parts of India, but we have to unite. This message of unity, this devotion to the ideal which Hanuman had for Rama's mission, whatever be that mission, my master's mission is my mission. So Vivekananda said, if we can do that, keep Sita in the center, it will be an inspiration for women. Hanuman as an embodiment of obedience, power, purity, and Rama who was upholder of dharma, absolutely unselfish. Like Krishna also, we will find in the life of Krishna, he didn't rule. In fact, he was the kingmaker. He himself never became the king in the sense he didn't assert his power, though he could have. So these people are not heroes in the Western sense to dominate over the whole world like Alexander and all those people. They came to serve society. This is the idea we have to convey. That is what Ramayana and Mahabharata and all our wonderful Puranas based on the Vedas convey to us. And that is the message we have to give to our children. Not just the entertainment value that these stories have. They have entertainment value, of course. Drama, so many dramas are inspired by that. So many songs and devotional songs on the drama and compositions. They will help us. Definitely they will help us. Like Hanuman Chalisa, we have Ramnam Sankirtan now. It's in essence giving the whole idea of Ramayana in a beautiful song. These things should inspire us to find out what is the true purpose of Ramayana, what is the true purpose of all the characters, whether it is Bharat, whether it is Lakshmana, whether it is Rama, whether it is Dasharatha also. So many characters. If you see, they have a message to convey. So I pray to the Holy Trio of Ramakrishna, Srimati Sharda Devi and Swami Vivekananda, who has revived this ancient ideal of Rama, of Krishna, of Ma Kali, Durga, and all the different gods and goddesses by explaining to us, by living, by practicing the different paths belonging to these different religions and showing that there is a unity. What Rama did, what Krishna did, what other gods and goddesses, they have one central message, that of upholding the values of Dharma. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the deeply inspiring and elevating talk. Your reflections from Swami Vivekananda and the ideals of Lord Rama are giving us much to contemplate and carrying into our daily lives. Let us offer our respectful pranam and our hearts of thanks.